Well, Jim, traditionally after a big pay-per-view, you can't wait until Raw. It used to be a Sunday night pay-per-view. You couldn't wait till the next night. Now we have a couple days to sit there and ruminate and think about what could happen. And this was the big Raw after Elimination Chamber.
Well, and they were in Buffalo. They shuffled off to Buffalo. So they were sold out there. They said, I don't know, you might be able to find out through your sources how many people they had, but they had Toronto. They ran SmackDown Friday night in the arena. Then they had almost 40,000 in the stadium. And then Buffalo and Toronto, as I recall, are what? Is it 120 miles? Something like that. And they've got a giant mob in Buffalo. Pedro Martinez probably spinning in his grave at seeing this house. And the emphasis all night, obviously, with the packages and the recaps and, people going back to the topic was Cena turning and the shock and let me get this straight now, Brian. They are showing reactions of people who broadcast their reactions to shit that they see on television on the internet. And people apparently watch the people reacting to something that the people are watching, the people reacting to something that those people are watching. But can the other people see it too? How does that even fucking work?
I think it depends on the person, it depends on the platform, but I will say this, and a lot of them look completely pretentious. Like, again, you're filming yourself, waiting to react to something. You're going to react a little different when you know you are filming yourself.
Well, yes, they're jumping up and down like goddamn chimpanzees in the fucking zoo.
But this is WWE's continuing attempt to infiltrate and have relationships with anyone who's a star on social media. And while it may seem crazy, it's one of those things Tony Khan and AEW need to do better. WWE's owning this right now, and they're getting anyone. Some of these people you see, I don't think most wrestling fans would know them. And they're boosting people that also do their PR work, which is what this really is.
I don't have time to watch all the things that I might want to watch on television, much less watching other people watching fucking television. I don't have time to do that. I'm not sure how that becomes a thing.
I did see Ice Show Speed amongst those people. I remember him from the Speed.
Oh, yes. Yes. They showed him the door. But, now I can understand if many of these people, well, not many of them, but I can understand if a few of these people are watching TV and they're naked at the time and then it's on OnlyFans, if there's a whole TV department over there. But anyway, I was just wondering about that. And I guess did Pat McAfee had to apologize to Canada? You were complaining to me off the air about McAfee's commentary, but I've pretty much zoned out on the commentary, trying to keep up with the tomfoolery in the ring and thereabouts. But I know he was mad because Canada booed the national anthem.
But that's the other thing. Was he mad or was he just doing an over-the-top performance and now he can't walk it back?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He was mad that whoever the character Pat McAfee, the announcer character Pat McAfee, who I understand has a 12-inch dick, but not the real person Pat McAfee. I haven't measured his, but
go back in the old episodes for anyone's going to miss that reference and wonder what the hell is he talking about with the 12.
Well, see, they should have been here since the start. They would know these things.
I thought he was unbearable on commentary. I think he's getting worse and worse because he's just screaming words. He's like a young, coked up Shivani. It's just, there's nothing in what he says. He's more of a cheerleader. And again, I think the main stuff of Elimination Chamber at the end with The Rock and Cena and Cody, I thought The Rock and Cena and Cody all hit home runs. Travis Scott didn't need to be there, and the commentators needed to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But Pat McAfee's getting on my nerves. And I'm not the only one on commentary.
Well, he had to apologize to some degree on his show for getting carried away with knocking what a rotten, horrible country Canada was. Well, they were booing that. They're booing the national anthem at hockey games, or the U.S. national anthem at hockey games up there now because of obvious reasons. Everybody's booing us again, except Russia.
And by the way, as we're recording today is the day that the tariffs go into effect, and that's what's causing all this. So it's not about wrestling. And apparently some wrestling journalists had no idea that it was happening outside of wrestling. But to answer your question from earlier,
people have are they that insulated that they didn't know that this is the market knows for the past couple days?
It's been in the newspapers. It'd be pretty hard to miss, but I got to confirm it. I heard a certain observing wrestling journalist had no idea what was happening in the real world. But Jim,
okay,
to answer your question, KeyBank Center, Buffalo, New York, as of 7:30 last night, according to WrestleTix, 13,861 tickets distributed, 82 tickets available.
Jesus Christ. On one of those, I would have, if I was the promoter, I'd go to the box office and buy the 82 tickets. As they fuck it, just shut it down. Here we go. Anyway, this opened with the best segment of wrestling television that I have seen in many a day, young feller. I remember back in the old days. No, it had. And I will sidetrack for a second because we're not going to talk about much of Raw because the rest of it was quite sad for the most part, and something made me sad at the end. But I want to give some context to the first part because it was fucking beautiful. A member of the Cult of Cornette, I don't have his name here in front of me, but I did send him a thank you in the mail, sent me, Brian, I don't know how many discs is there, like a 6 or 8 disc compilation of early 80s Georgia wrestling of TBS when it was Georgia Championship Wrestling, 1980, 81, 80, you know the era.
Great stuff, yeah.
And some of this I'd seen, some of it I have on a VHS tape somewhere in this house that I probably won't live long enough to find. But here it is all together. So as a palate cleanser from the modern wrestling that I've been watching, which good, bad, or indifferent, everybody has to admit that it's mostly either one style or another today. Either you got the WWE product or you got the AEW / ROH / even TNA. A lot of those guys, it's the more indie style product, and there's not a lot of variety anymore. And I put one of the Georgia DVDs in, and just not only the variety, the different kinds of matches, but the faster pace and the level of aggression or level of simulated aggression. But it didn't seem simulated. It just a more, and you can go back some of the hot stuff in the Attitude Era with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Imagine that, legitimate aggression. But, Flair and Ronnie Garvin in the 80s, we were talking about on TBS, legitimate aggression. And finally, we see some modern legitimate aggression here that gets the people up. And it doesn't, I guess that's what I'm saying is the pace for everybody that says old time wrestling used to be so slow. When you were watching TV matches with the top guys and TV angles, they were fucking moving. And whether it was the high spot match where there's Terry Gordy at 300 pounds taking those fucking arm drags from DiBiase, or Steve Kern and Kevin Sullivan doing the fucking mix of amateur and pro wrestling where you kind of can't see through it, or the crazy bullshit and there's Plowboy Frazier dropping legs on people. It was all different, but there was aggression and there was a pace to it, and there was legitimate urgency when people were trying to do things to each other. Then now everybody, they bonk them on the head once and they're laying there, and now everybody's taking their time and they're milking more than the American Dairy Association. have I established this state of mind that I'm in about the modern stuff? So now when it was different, when you see people that actually are trying to get people into a fucking fight and look like they're trying to get at each other and everybody's playing their part, to use the Hollywood reference, it's refreshing, right? And I mean, have you ever done that? Gone back and looked at one of your old tapes or videos or whatever, and immediately said, "God damn, it's a different level of animation amongst the participants."
I think a lot of it goes back to Vince McMahon and the whole idea of drawing everything out forever. And as the shows got longer, everything got longer. Because when you really think about how many hot things you saw for so many years that lasted 5 minutes or less, actually, the actual fighting part may have lasted a minute or 2 minutes or less. There was buildup around it. But now things go on forever. Guys from the world champion to anyone else on the card could just be laying there dead and no one comes to check on them. And then they get security guards that are clearly wrestling students. On Raw this week, at one point, the security guards are running around, and behind the barricade, you see the real security guards who are all old men. They're all old men who look like they're 6'6". And I'm like, I'd put my money on that old man against all those wrestling students running around there as fucking security guards.
And the people in the arena can see them, and they're like, send in the fucking reinforcements over there.
The fight's right in front of them, and they have their back turned and their arms crossed, and they're looking at the crowd. I'm like, man, those are the tough guys.
But that's the thing, is that, and yes, Vince and a lot of people with a superficial understanding of the wrestling business are going to say, but Jim, we've been told by the veterans that less is more. And then you'd say, don't do everything. And I'm not saying doing every move, or I'm not saying hitting people with a goddamn weapon 15 times. I'm saying even when the level of aggression and animation is, even if you're in a fucking hold or somebody's got your arm, you're fighting it and you're trying to get out of it, and it looks like the other guy's trying to keep control of you. And then when you burst into the running spot, one guy's off balance while the other guy's in control, but there's the arm drag and blah, blah, blah. Then you pay the spot off and give them room to breathe. Or maybe the baby face needs to fucking approach you, but the heel's leaning through the ropes, and then they get into something to keep the fucking pace going. Doesn't mean commit aggravated mayhem and attempted homicide every 30 seconds. And in angles, again, like you said, don't just have people laying there while you walk around, and you just know that nobody's ever going to stop you from doing this because it's all fake. There needs to be senses of urgency. And that's when, in this first segment, which we'll finally get to here now, with Punk and with Seth Rollins, the people were reacting to it because when you get them to a place where they can suspend their disbelief and they can say, this shit has gotten out of hand, it's going to go on. Oh shit, look at that. That's where you get them. And also, by both people being legitimately over and not just some fucking average simpleton on the indie level show having another of the constant pull aparts that they have in every segment, the people sit there with their hands crossed and look at that. But when it's two top guys on a hot show and they lay it out and execute it this well, the people they were chanting for a pull apart. This is awesome. But anyway, I've got ahead of myself. We got to talk about the promo first. Punk comes out, walks through Gorilla, clears off the desk, stands on it. He's pissed off. He's going to give his State of a Union address and address his enemies, which right now is everybody. And he starts with The Rock, who he calls a bald fraud. And again, you would like to think that, that everybody was in on this, but I'm thinking that maybe he might have slipped one or two of these in. Dwayne hasn't seemed like he wanted to participate in anything that makes him look bad these days. And Punk was getting to the meat of the matter. So again, we're skirting the lines here, folks. We're walking a tightrope. But Punk's story is that he marched through hell for opportunities. And Mr. Midlife Crisis walks in and thinks he's a bigger star than everybody and a blah, blah, blah. And I'd say it to his face, but he hasn't graced us with his presence to do. Then he was looking at the camera. He hadn't graced us with his presence. He said, to do your bullshit, hit your arm and pretend you care about this business. Do you, again, Brian, we talked about it earlier. Do you think that The Rock has one of those Danish electric fucking stimulators up his taint that he can hit and get the goosebumps, the goose pimples, as Mama Cornette would say?
I think Punk has gone too far. I mean, who is he to question one man's excitement over and over again in a really pretentious and fake manner that never seems genuine, and everything about him just seems to be completely full of shit? I think, who the hell is Punk? If not me, who? I don't know what the hell I'm saying. But I agreed with everything he was saying. And, we just saw The Rock at that press conference say, guys have to go out there, say what you feel. I want guys to say what you feel. And Punk was the next promo we saw on TV. So maybe he felt a lot of this. And of course, Punk is really good about saying shit that either he feels or we think he feels, and then going right back into the story seamlessly. And he did it here.
Yes. And he also he said, I've never been so desperate as to have to wear a fake title belt and blah, 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 and sell my soul. And then he goes to Cena. Now you can't see me. We can all see through you. And this was great. You stole something from me. And that now it's proved that John Cena has been selling all these kids bullshit. And that's kind of, that's a shame. Again, I wondered why, if it's not a guy that's got a 3-year run with a spot like that, instead you turn him to Babe Ruth. Suddenly it's revealed that he's a goddamn horrible human being before he plays his last game for the Knickerbockers or whoever the fuck.
The Yankees?
Whoever they were. And then he says, yes, I'm going to get my hands on both of you bald frauds, and you're going to make a wish I never did. And
I was wondering who's going to use Make-A-Wish, and he was right there with
he was the next promo. But the thing, his delivery and his tone and the way he's animated, and he's spitting these words out with some contempt when he's met. You feel it. This is what I'm talking about, people. This is how you do it. And then finally he gets to now the man of the hour, Seth Rollins. Becky Lynch, come get your man before I do, or I'll put him in a wheelchair. And immediately the music plays. And even though Seth came out hot, I wish Seth had just run on. They don't need the music. People would have recognized him. And Punk ran to meet him in the entranceway. And boom, 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 here they started. And that's what I'm talking about. The pull apart with the breakaways and the into the ring and out of the ring and across the desk. And they had peaks and valleys, and and Punk's facials are so animated, and there's animosity in his animation. And fucking they're snatching and grabbing at each other. And all the agents and the referees, and Pierce is out there trying to get them apart, and they kept it going. And the crowd, as they kept going, got more into it, and they were chanting, "Holy shit!" And this is awesome. From a fucking a pull apart is something that the wrestling fans unfortunately see a lot these days. But this had, as I said, all of the elements, and they did this for about 6 or 7 minutes, which is a million fucking years, by the way, even for well-conditioned athletes in a fucking pull apart. And it's more energy than you would think. They'd rather be in there hitting the ropes and taking hip tosses and backdrops and enzuigiris and things like that than that pull apart, because it'll fucking drain you, because you got all those people are on you in some cases almost for real. And I've seen wrestling school students that weren't exactly smart to the fucking program that actually pulled the fucking guys apart and wouldn't let them fight when they wanted to and were supposed to. So, but point is, they kept this going. The people were into it, and finally they split them up. And Seth was in the entranceway, and they had Punk over at the ring. But this now, again, we got to see this fucking these two. Say what you want about the rest of the business, but I think these two are mad, Brian.
It was a week ago that I was looking forward to a potential Logan Paul CM Punk thing. And I said, I'm kind of sick of the Rollins stuff and the McIntyre stuff, and I'm not sick of it anymore. They did the stuff to heat it up because of what happened at the Elimination Chamber, which Cena took advantage of. Punk was right there in the mix. He could have won. And, we talk so much about Cody's chase for whatever it was, his dream. CM Punk's been talking about wanting to be in the main event since he's been back. So there's that whole big story that can go on for a while. I thought this was tremendous, and the fans were super into it. It was super hot, and it kept going, and it was action. And because there were so many people there, the action seemed so big. I thought it was great. This is a great opening.
Yeah, they again, it was a scene of chaos that even the people up in the cheap seats, they cheated to get in. Up in the cheap seats, they can see all of that fucking scurrying going on, and it adds to the excitement, and it builds if they care about the guys involved, and if they, again, if it was just guys taking bumps and falling through furniture, they couldn't do that for 7 fucking minutes at that pace. But this was orchestrated to where that it had its peaks and valleys. You think it would be over, and then it starts back again. Excellent timing on everybody's part. And again, we want to see that, but now I'll spoil it now because not to be disconnected. And later on in the back, Seth cut a fucking promo screaming at Adam Pearce, and Pearce said, okay, next week on Raw in Madison Square Garden, Seth Rollins versus CM Punk in a cage. They're giving it away. Well, I mean, they get paid $500 million for television, but they're giving it away. What are these guys going to be doing at WrestleMania if they've got a cage match next week on television on Netflix?
Well, again, it's from the Garden. I think there is still a special connotation about anything that's from the Garden.
Well, yes, but now that we've seen, are they going to do an angle in a cage match that might pretend? I want to see Punk and Seth probably more than I want to see either one of them do anything else at WrestleMania. After all of this nonsense going on, all of this bullshit taking place.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
I wish you would.
As a side topic from this, what's Roman Reigns doing for WrestleMania?
Boy, he could come over here. We're going to have dip and chips.
If I asked you who he's working with, do you have any idea? Because I don't.
No. But they got 6 or 7 weeks to tell us because they're in the middle of, or toward the end of April this year. Is it going to be, what's going to go on with Solo and Jacob?
Is Roman going to get pulled into the Is he going to get pulled into the Cody Cena Rock stuff?
Would he potentially be the special referee that Rock would assign, and then have a moral dilemma in front of him, whether to follow his family and the final boss or do what he thinks is right, blah, blah, blah.
That'd be tough, having a moral dilemma and turning to Heyman for advice.
Oh.
Well, that was the opening segment of WWE Raw, a memorable Raw. Again, that was the highlight of the show, not to take anything away from all the other people. I thought Gunther and Otis was really good. I doubt you watched really any of that.
It's Otis and etc. And also Braun and Finn are mad at each other, and they had a back and forth promo situation with Braun is put in the babyface position here, and I just wanted to note this. Basically, Finn goads him into the ring, and he beats up the Judgment Day affiliates, Carlito and Dominic, but Finn gets on him, but he comes back. But, Finn escapes, and Braun levels Carlito. Braun, I think we've been talking about this, was going to be a babyface sooner or later, but he hasn't turned. And I think this is good because it's just, he's still being himself, but him being himself lends itself to an easy transition into people's eyes. I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but since he was being a heel by being a surly, aggressive, physically dominant brute of a person with amazing speed and cool moves. And now he's just being that way to the other heels. So he's one of those guys. And I think they've realized they've got to well, I know they've realized for a long time but apparently they want more people to start aligning with Braun. So they're leaning him in that direction. I thought that was interesting.
Carlito's become one of my favorite characters on the show.
And since he's the flunky of the thing, and that's his gimmick, you can do anything to him, and he can take the bullet for the other guys, and still, he's still enjoyable. He's not going to draw on his own. He's the croutons. He's an important part of the salad. But if you just got the bowl of croutons, you think, well, fuck, I need some goddamn dressing at least. So there you go.
All right. Noted salad expert Jim Cornette.
Well, I gain weight when I eat salads because the salad is only really there to hold the dressing up. And I like the good high fat. Anyhow, so we'll get to the main event of Raw. Or should we? Are you ready to go there?
I'm dying to know what you thought. I watched it. I thought it was a good match. And I was shocked by the ending, and I immediately thought about what you would say.
Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky for the women's title. And we talked at the Elimination Chamber. Io had come out when there was Rhea and Bianca face to face because Io, as we were asking, what the fuck? Has she got a match next? Well, it's on Raw. And I don't know what to say. Yes, it was the last 25 minutes of the show. So as much as I love Rhea Ripley, I did not want to watch this blow for blow and move for move for that long. But the point of the whole thing was at the end of it, because Bianca is sitting at ringside trying to find out who she's going to face at WrestleMania. And as I'm sitting, I thought, I've sold myself on Rhea and Bianca. Because, as athletic as Bianca is, and Rhea's a master, and, boy, they could put something together, right? This will be a confrontation. They're both baby faces, and then Rhea gets in an argument with Bianca at ringside here because Bianca was cheering for Io. Oh, you want to fight Io instead of me, huh? I don't know if that's a significant enough reason, Brian, to you for a professional in this situation to turn around, leave her entire goddamn match, leave her opponent laid in the ring to engage in an extended shoving match back and forth with somebody for cheering for the other person. Did that immediately strike you as what the fuck is going on here?
It was the first sign that, they're doing a lot for Rhea to go over. Maybe there's something else going on.
Well, and the other thing that went on was they shoved each other. Rhea and Bianca shoved each other back and forth a couple of times, and then the referee got in between them. So then Rhea goes in and said, well, I'm going to do something to her because it's your fault, and goes to give Io, who's another babyface, right? Io is a babyface, the riptide off the top rope.
Rhea's a babyface.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Io's a babyface. Rhea's a babyface. Bianca's a babyface.
Yes.
But she's now one of the baby faces is mad at the other baby face, so she's going to take it out on the innocent baby face. And she goes for the riptide off the top, and Io turns it into a have a corona off the top rope on Rhea, and then does a moonsault and pins her 1, 2, 3 and wins the title. And what purpose could this have been done for? Because now we've got Bianca against Io Sky at WrestleMania. And Rhea is Rhea going to take time off to shoot a movie? Because what the... And I'm not even saying Io Sky's horrible at it. Yes, I'm sure for the people who like that kind of thing, it was a wonderful 20-minute back and forth match. But you got Rhea Ripley, who is more over than many of the guys on the roster, who the people chant for mommy, mommy, who is a goddamn superstar and a movie star. And if you got Bianca, who is a multi-time champion and has been there for you and has a fan base and is athletic and looks the fucking part. And then you have little teeny beady Io Sky, who can't speak English well enough to do the promo that the women's world champion, in my opinion, should be doing, and is also microscopic and in between Bianca and Rhea Ripley, don't look like she needs to be the face of the women's division. So how have they... If it's now going to be Io Sky against Bianca, does that mean Bianca now has to switch heel between now and then to make this make sense?
I've been starting to wonder if Bianca's switching heel coming out of the Jade thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was disagreeing with you because she looked so shocked. But
she was shocked that her accomplice got the shit kicked out of her. That's the way I kind of saw it. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well, no, not her. She was shocked at Naomi, that she was doing that to Naomi.
Right, but if she's turning
her partner,
heel,
not her accomplice.
If she's turning heel, either she's the one who set up Jade or she was in on it with Naomi and they're best friends and they didn't give a shit.
Okay, see, it's starting to get too complicated anyway, but back to this other fucking deal. What the fuck? Yeah, I could see Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair as a WrestleMania match, but Io Sky and Bianca Belair? And what's Rhea going to be doing? And the other with Tiffany is facing Charlotte, correct?
As of this moment, that is correct. Yeah. But I don't know. Then, I mean, The Rock may decide he wants to be in the women's division, and then it could change everything. The Rockette.
So, but that's what's happened on Raw, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know what's the purpose of that is, but business-wise, how the fuck? I don't understand that.
Well, a big surprise. I think everyone was kind of shocked by that finish. I thought it was a little telegraphed beforehand in the match, but everything is less about the match and the finish and more about the story and where it goes, and we have no idea what's going on with Naomi or Jade. Now what's going on with Rhea for WrestleMania? Does she get back into the mix? Is it a three-way? We shall find out. But Jim...
Yes.
When you think of the various women in the history of the women's division in WWE, or even the Divas division, you could probably close your eyes and think of all the different hair color. We've seen red, we've seen white, we've seen blonde, we've seen brown. We've seen all colors of the rainbow in the hair of Asuka, and everything in between. And of course, what I'm trying to do is set us up to talk about our new friend, a new sponsor here on the program, and that is our friend from Simpler Hair Color.
Well, we don't know just one guy, or it's not just one guy mixing this up under his bathroom sink. They have a company over there. They're our friends, plural. And you see, you know what color you never do see, though, don't you, Brian? You see the red and the blue and the brown and the blonde, and you'd never see gray because people want to cover that gray up. Now, for me, I've pretty much given up People know what I look like, and what the fuck? It would be jarring at this point. But if you're just starting to get a little gray, or you've been dyeing the gray for a while, but you got the messy home hair coloring that most people sell, it's a pain in the ass. Then you stop touching up the gray, and then you let people see you with the gray, and then you start touching up the gray again. Well, then you look like somebody having a midlife crisis while talking to their friend on Skype, on camera, looking like a buffoon. But folks, if you're busy and you don't have time to start taking a bunch of colored ink and slopping it all over your head and getting the house all messy, making a big production everywhere, go to our friends at Simpler Hair Color, and that's simplerhaircolor.com. Because, guys, again, you don't want people to think that you're over the hill, you're decrepit, that your social security number is 1, or that your birth certificate was chiseled into granite with a chisel.
Bruiser Brody didn't need to look so old.
No, he didn't. And you'll find that if you wait like Vince did until it's too late and then do a bad job with this home hair color stuff that you find laying around the stores, then you'll look like a silent movie villain. But with Simpler Hair Color, it was started by a couple of folks who appreciate better dyeing options for hair and beards. They endured the mess of home dye kits and the harsh ingredients of salons for years. Do you know in some cases, when you heard of the term bleached blonde? Well, that bleach can go right into your brain and make you stupid. That's what started the blonde jokes. So you don't want to do that. And if you bleach your beard, it'll make your tongue taste like bleach. And then you won't be able to enjoy your chicken fingers. Folks, with Simpler Hair Color, there's no need to buy separate stuff for your hair, your beard, your touch-up. A single can of Simpler Hair Color provides as many uses as up to 4 boxes of that drugstore Drek that you might be currently using. Because they'll just sell you anything out there. You think there's bad stuff in commercial dog foods, you ought to read the list of ingredients. It'll melt your brain, folks. But Simpler Hair Color dyes are formulated and manufactured in the USA. That's why you're getting a good deal, no tariffs. So, all you got to do is go to simplerhaircolor.com, where they offer gentler ingredients, a cleaner application, and unlike other companies, there's no waste. They use everything, folks. Nothing gets cut out. And they offer free shipping and free returns so you can try Simpler Hair Color risk-free. So say goodbye to grays the easy way with Simpler Hair Color. And right now, if you go to simplerhaircolor.com/JCE and use the code JCE, you're going to get 10% off whatever you order from the fine products that they contain there within. simplerhaircolor.com/JCE. Use the promo code JCE, 10% off these fine products, and look younger, look better, look more natural. Don't look like you're ready to be laid out and have words spoken over you.
That's right. Welcome to the show. Simpler Hair Color, and of course, do what you can, when you can, at the right time to stay on top of this. Don't look like Vince McMahon at the end. Simpler
well, as a matter of fact, even if you're 60 years old, you use this stuff, they're going to card you in all the finer establishments.